Hello, how are you? Happy Sunday. I have nap hair. I fell asleep. You know when you fall asleep and it's like this, and then you have crooked hair. All I know is a Sunday well napped means a week is to come, right? Or something. A Sunday well spent makes a weekend content. Anyway, I wanted to tomorrow I am speaking on a podcast, a happiness adventure podcast. And so I have a list of questions that we are talking about, and I thought they were great questions that I'm sure I will share the podcast once it airs, but I thought it would be fun to answer, and then of course I'm practicing the answers with you, because that's what you guys are. You're my people, right? So I am speaking on two podcasts. One is about working out for busy people. One is about one is about, I'm just going to move you there. And one is about how to find joy in the chaos of life, which I feel like is my jam, right? So I figured I would practice, and you guys can tell me if there's, if I'm missing something, because you would know if I'm missing anything. So I'm just pulling up the questions. Sorry, I should have done that before. But again, nap hair. So that should tell you where my brain is today. I feel like once those two little humans go to bed, it's just so easy to call it a day myself. Okay, so I'm going to share. So the questions they ask are, you talk about the struggle to find your identity after getting married and having babies. Can you share your story of what that was like for you? So my whole journey online really began after my second baby. I had them 15 months apart, and I don't know if you are like me. You probably aren't, because, but, we got married. We were engaged for 11 months, but we'd been together over just over 2.5 years. And, we wanted to have babies right away, and it didn't work like that. We had to wait. So not on purpose, just didn't work. So it was about a year before we had a kid. And then when I found out I was pregnant with Carter, I was already 10 weeks pregnant, because I was only 7 months postpartum. So once he came on scene, I really had been pregnant now, and doing the things, doing the pregnant mom thing over and over, without any real break, without any blip in time. And I was, working full time, and I guess, to be honest, I think I thought it would be one way, and it turns out it was a lot harder than I think I thought it was, or it didn't flow as easy, or it didn't bring the joy that I thought it would initially. And I think it's because I just kind of lost who I was. I was tired. I was burnt out. I wasn't the same shape as I used to be. I just kind of felt like, wait, is this my passion, or is this my purpose, or is this what I'm supposed to do? Here I am working, and then I'm taking these kids to daycare, and it just, everything felt really, really hard. And so for me, it began this question of well, am I just going to work? And James and I had always talked about having more than 2 kids. And it was kind of am I going to just keep having kids and just keep working? And daycare was hard. With my son, I don't know why, but I'm way more sensitive to them than I am with my daughter. Isn't that weird? I'm don't get me wrong. If you I'm obviously very sensitive to her too, but for some reason, I didn't like the way they rocked him. I didn't like the way he couldn't do. One day I stormed into daycare, and I literally found 47 things wrong, and he never went back. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that we were coming to an end. We had to break up. And so when I pulled him out, it was kind of one of those so James, what are we? And so luckily my job was able to work with me, and I fandangled my way into not going, working kind of partially from home. And then we got a nanny for him. And so I just was like, it just felt like the rat race, right? Like, I'm like, you wake up and you do the things, and then you go to daycare and you cry because it's so sad and because the drop off is terrible. And then, you're either, then you're coming home and you're trying to get dinner and you're doing all these things. And it just feels like, what on earth is the point? Like, what am I? And not to say that that's bad. I just was tired. Like, I was like, this is not, I mean, James and I were okay. We were fine. We were just kind of going through the motion. And I felt kind of like, well, this isn't really what I hoped for. And so then began the question of like, well, what can I do? We live in Southern California, and, one day I'm sure James will make enough for, so that I don't have to work anymore, but that day may never come. And I don't want him to have that pressure that that's what has to come. But I know we want to have more kids and we want to buy a home in San Diego. And it's like, what are we going to do here? And so that's kind of when this coaching thing just kind of fell into my lap. And I began to, kind of come out of the fog and find myself in a situation where I kind of understood, oh, well, I could do this. This would help some of those things. So what started for me as like, let's get back to pre-baby weight, turned into a full-blown passion and career. And it was, I think, when it all began to flow was when I stopped working, and my side hustle had replaced my income. And I realized that I was turning into a person that was healthy from the inside out. And I saw the potential for that for so many people, like millions of people, and realized that this had been my passion all along. I've always been obsessed with helping people feel great in their skin, or find their dream, help their dream come true, or, have a lot of energy, or live freely, or, just being on fire and being joyful. And I feel like that's always been who I was. It just kind of got bogged down. It kind of got lost in the postpartum, I kind of got lost in the postpartum land. And, I don't know that I ever had full-on postpartum depression, but I definitely experienced some baby blues, which is hard to understand. I remember when I wanted a baby so bad, and I would hear about postpartum and baby blues, and I'm like, what? You just get your baby. You just have this baby. Now you just go and love them, and everything's so great. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I don't know that you can ever really explain anybody out of any of those situations, because they're all so different, and babyland hits different women so differently, that really everyone just kind of has to stay in their lane on that one, because it is hard and it is a struggle for a lot of people, and it comes in different waves and different forms. And so anyway, back to the question, which was there an aha moment for me? And I want to say it was probably, I was sounds terrible. I was sitting at a pool with my parents, who were visiting. They live in Canada 6 months out of the year, and then Arizona 6 months out of the year. And they were here in San Diego, and they were renting a house downtown for a couple months. And I was no longer working, and I was sitting at this pool, and I was reading a book. And I remember thinking, I'm happy. I'm really fulfilled. I'm really grateful. I'm very, we had miscarried maybe 3 months prior, which was really hard. And I think something I feared for so long, and not to say that it wasn't the worst experience, but I made it through. I came out on the other side, and I saw the light over, I saw the other side of what that looks like. And I was still alive, and I was still thriving, and my kids were great. And, our marriage grew, and we grew through it. And I love to think that when I realized that I was putting systems in place and growth plans in place in my own life, I was doing that for my spouse and my kids, and all of a sudden everything and all the people around me were thriving, and I knew that I was on the path to something big. And so, that would be my aha moment. Okay, what's the most common complaint you hear from your clients related to how busy their lives are? This is the greatest question, because I feel like this is how this statement goes. I'm so busy, and I know that I can't say that to you because you have 4 kids under 4 or 5 years old, but I am so busy because blank, 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 blank. And first off, let me just illegitimize, it's not a word. See, this is the problem. I'm speaking on a podcast. Can I make up my own language? Because it's pretty much what I do basically every day. Your life is your life, right? Like, you don't know. I remember someone, like, we thought we were tired when we were in our 20s. Like, we thought we were, like, tired, and I was sleeping probably 8 to 9 hours a night. Like, I didn't know tired. I didn't even know what busy was. I don't even know what the heck I was spending my time doing. Now, granted, I did open a hotel, and that was really busy. I remember, we were busy. Like, you worked, like, 20 hours a day. Maybe not 20, but 18, like, you lived at the hotel and you slept in every room and you did all those things. But I think that life is always going to be busy for things you don't make a priority, right? So one of the number one things that I usually set my client, one of the very first questions that I have my clients decide, and sometimes it takes them going to YouTube and watching some videos to pull on those heartstrings. Sometimes it takes them to sit down and imagine what their life would look like if they were, 55 and their diabetes was taking them out, or they had no energy, or they couldn't make it to their kids' graduation, or even in their 40s when they're, hey mom, like, everyone's going to play, going swimming, can you come? And you absolutely are not going to go to the pool because you're so afraid, or you're sitting there in that black, long sleeve up to your moo-moo, and you're miserable and you hate your life, and your kids see that. Your kids feel that and see that, and it's coming out in everything. Sometimes it takes that moment where you have to figure out what the why is to why you need to make a change in your life, and let that why be something that kind of, I don't want to say plagues you, but really drives you forward, really makes you feel like, oh my gosh, that would be so horrible. I never want that to happen, because that's where you want to be. There was a commercial a while back. I think it was on Canadian television. I don't really know why I know this, because I don't live in Canada anymore, but for some reason I just remember. Anyway, it was this commercial, and it was like, it kept going back and forth, and it was this man, like, he was maybe in his 70s, 80s, and he was playing basketball with his grandkid, and then it flashed forward, and it was a man sitting in a wheelchair watching basketball, with like a nurse taking care of him, and it just kept flashing forward of all the different things that if you chose your health, what that looks like. And it was just really powerful. And so sometimes I send that, and I said, maybe you don't know your why. Maybe, when my why is obviously developed now, and it's become more like, it's my therapy. Like, I want to be sane for these 4 kids so I can live and love well, and I can do it with energy and joy, and I can teach them and have energy to do so, and be an example so that they then go forward and be the same kind of human beings in this life, and they're full of light and love. And I want them to say things like, Dad, I bet because you just said that to that woman, her cup is so full. Like, I want those to be the kinds of things that my kids are doing, that they're constantly being, genuine, joy-filled, hope dealers. Really, that's basically my goal in life. And so when I say my why, I can't be that joy-filled, life-giving hope dealer if I'm not taking care of myself. And so I have to. That's where that stems from. I wonder how long I can talk, 'cause I'm pretty sure I could just go on and on and on. Let me answer one more question. What's the most important thing people need to understand when they are in the midst of chaos? And then you need to be a priority in your life before you can make anything else thrive. Your life will always be a level of chaos, but you can find joy and peace in the middle. It is important to keep the things you can control in check. So obviously I am a health coach, but I also run a business called Organized Chaos, but they really honestly go hand in hand. They are 100% in the same. One complements the other and the other complements, they go together. So first off, chaos is going to come. Chaos is 100% going to be something that is going to come into your life. Oh, love. And it's hard. Number one, those are really hard ages. And you need to find what makes you feel alive. And sometimes that scary thing is going to be what keeps you up at night and maybe makes you sleep less than you already are, as I'm sure. But that's the reality, is you have to fight and not decide that you are comfortable in your current situation. And what's more important is you figuring out what you want in this life to live and live it well. I could probably go on and on for that, but let me just finish this last thought here. Chaos is everybody's life, right? Like, we all have chaos to a certain degree, and it's going to come in waves and forms. We could have a perfect day and then chaos could break because someone could wake up with fever. Someone could end up with a rash. Someone could end up, my 2-year-old could just come out in the mood that takes down the house. We could get news that somebody is sick. Somebody could die. The chaos of, you guys are asking such good questions. Can you come be on this podcast with me? Something is always going to happen. So here is what I have found makes life manageable and less chaotic. Control the the controllable, right? Control taking care of you. Control your food. Control your water. Control your sleep. Control your marriage to a certain degree, which means you're constantly growing as a couple. You're constantly working towards your marriage. Control, your kids' routine. Control your calendar if it's overfilled. To control what sports you do. Control how you spend your time. Control how much TV you watch. Control those things that you are capable of controlling, so that when the chaos comes, because it will come, you aren't fizzled. Not now, the things that like the fact that you're 30 pounds overweight is no longer something that you're struggling with, because you have a plan for that. You have a system. You're no longer struggling with what on earth are we going to eat tonight, because the food is in your refrigerator and you have groceries and you have a meal plan and the food is good food, so you're not going to be going to McDonald's or whatever, Jack in the Box or whatnot. You have a plan, right? When the calendar is set the way it's set, because so that way if something hops in and something sounds really fun or something's not fun and you now are filling, you have a way to kind of maneuver around that. Control the controllable, so that when the uncontrollable comes, you are already peaceful about the things in your life that a lot of people stress about. I can't tell you how many times it's like, well, I've started a routine and I started a health routine and I failed. Sorry, my husband took my son's training wheels off and of course doesn't bother telling me. These are important. These are memories. These are moments. But decide what you have to decide. So when people always say like, well, I've started so many programs and I quit and I quit and I quit, and you have to stop quitting. You just stop. You just decide that I'm done saying the same thing, right? Like, I'm done telling anybody, stop quitting on yourself. When someone says to you, or when you say the words out loud, okay, this is it, I'm going to start. Don't ever stop. Just don't ever stop, which I feel like answers your question, Haley. I love your choice of words when answering these questions, but how do you motivate yourself to continue to move forward every day? I think about that why every single day. I have it written down before I go to bed. I have it in my planner when I wake up. So when I don't follow the same routine every single day, I get really anxious. And when I get anxious, then I'm a bad mom, and then I'm not a great wife, and then I'm sucky at my job, and it all just flows, right? It all just goes together. So if I know I can control this part of my life, and that gives me the energy and the steam and the whatever to keep going forward, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing that same thing that I know works every single day, and I'm not even going to get it. I'm not going to let routine, Saturday, Sunday, vacation, none of it's going to stop me, because right now my goal is big. My dream is big, right? Like I have a dream for, I would love, if my husband wanted to retire, that he could. I want us to be in a place financially where we don't work. If he wanted to go coach basketball tomorrow at a high school, he could do that. So I want us to get to that place. I want to be financially free. We have some dreams. We both want to help and volunteer. And so there's just a lot of things that I think drive us forward. I think the part that is easy, I don't want to say easy for me, but goes well, is my life, my job, and my passion is health related, and so together they really drive my why forward, right? Like they're all together in one. I think that's obviously, like, not everybody's job is to work out every day and share their story, which is why I think everyone should be a health coach, because it's the greatest job in the world, because you get healthy, share with others, and get paid. Bada bing, bada boom. It like, that just knocks out that accountability piece, right? Because my job is to do this, so I want to get paid, so I'm going to keep doing those things. So that's really like I think, I don't want to say I have it easy, but that really does help in that one little particular area. But I do think you have to just remind yourself of the why. You have to, write down every day those grateful moments, create a gratitude journal, and have that gratitude journal on hand, so that when you are in those days where you can't do the things you want to do, you've got a list of things as to why you need to do the things you want to do. So, this could go on and on, but I am going to wrap it up there, because I feel like I got some really good, just in my own conversation. But maybe I'll keep answering these questions throughout the week, because they are really good. Because they go on to say, how can living a life of organized chaos cultivate more joy? Gosh, live there forever. For people in the midst of chaos, whether young children or a demanding job or other life events, you have really practical organizational systems that can help. Can you share what those are? That is my course, Organized Chaos. Anyway, I think those are all. So, I hope that this was which is helpful. And if you have any questions, please ask. This can just be an open end, and I'll just continue to answer those questions. I actually think there's some questions in my stories today that I'm going to go ask, and let's make it happen. Have a fantastic Sunday. Plan, prepare, go find that YouTube video, and I promise you will be encouraged and blessed. And thank you for just always pushing me to take care of me, so that I can take care of my monkeys. So, see ya.